This episode of The Incubator is proudly sponsored by Chiesi. Providing innovative neonatology solutions for more than 35 years, Chiesi is committed to supporting the neonatology community and the NICU families you serve. To learn more, visit www.nicuconnections.com/incubator.
Beyond the Beeps is an incubator podcast done in partnership with ICU Baby. ICU Baby is the largest NICU support organization in the Southeast United States and provides comprehensive support to more than 300 NICU beds in the diverse metropolis of Miami. What happens in the NICU beyond the beeps? In this podcast, we pull back the curtain on the journey of NICU families and dive deeper into the NICU experience. Parents share their stories, their words of wisdom, and their hope. I am your host, Leah Gianetti, and I, along with my team of NICU mentors, hold the hands of hundreds of families each year who are living the NICU. I am bringing all of the families who I have met in the NICU with me to host this podcast and have these conversations so you can have a better NICU experience. We are so glad you're here. Welcome to Beyond the Beeps. I was super lucky about, 3 years ago when I was sitting in a meeting for Breastfeed Miami, where I sit with amazing humans that work on human milk and breastfeeding issues around Miami and Florida, to be introduced to a family who was in the NICU. I was introduced by the representatives from WIC, which is Women, Infant, and Children, who provide incredible support to families of mothers, fathers, and children around the country. And they have an outstanding breastfeeding program. And they were in contact with this human who they were like, you have to know Annick. And they said, she's in the NICU right now with her baby and she's painting. And I thought to myself, painting in the NICU, that's something else. And they said, no, but she's there right now. Her baby was a super preemie. They couldn't share too much. And they said, but you must meet her. And I said, absolutely, absolutely. So this was in a hospital that we weren't providing support for yet, but just knowing these little bit of facts and knowing these amazing women who were referring her, I said, I must know this woman. So today, joining me is Annick Duvivier, who is a Haitian-born, Miami-based artist known for her mixed media paintings. She explores diverse themes, the awareness of protection in nature, femininity, which I have some of her work, and it is extraordinary. Her artwork has been exhibited internationally, including at the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago, Yellowstone Museum of Art in Montana, Kimpton Epic Hotel Art Residency. She had a solo show there and a solo show at the Hilton Blue Lagoon and also at the Island Space Caribbean Museum in Florida. It's everywhere, which is to the great gift of the world. Her artwork is in the public art collection at the Miami International Airport and in the City of Tamarack Public Art. She has private collections of the co-producer of Avatar and many, many more. Annick collaborated with prime store chains like Macy's, Bloomingdale's, and West Elm to create custom artwork for their main window display during Art Basel, Fashion Week, and Black History Month. She recently represented Haiti in the Art Fair Africaine at Art Basel in 2023, among many master international artists. Annick studied fine arts at Altos de Chavon in 2008 in DR, which is affiliated with Parsons in New York if you're here in the States. She graduated with a BFA in Visual Arts at Miami International University Art and Design in 2019. Beyond her painting, Annick works as an advocate for the Haitian Creole language. She's illustrated 2 storybooks during the NABU Fellowship for Illustrators of the Haitian Heritage. The books are bilingual literature in Haitian Creole and English for children between 0 and 10 years old. They're available for free. And we'll have all of these links of all of her stuff and pictures of her artwork, which we'll talk about today, in our notes page for you to all take a look at. So with the birth of her preemie daughter, Thalia, Annick helped our organization, ICU Baby, with our Creole translations. And she was one of our lead actresses in the videos which guide our parents on what to expect in the NICU. She is in the NICU Empowerment Support Tools video series, which is our health literacy series. So if you've been watching her, that's her. Yeah. So during her 112-day stay in the NICU with Thalia, she was painting, like I said. The self-portrait with baby won first prize for the art of breastfeeding and was selected for the Miami-Dade WIC calendar, which I am looking at right now in my office. And it was this painting that introduced her to me. The Hospital University Health Women's and Children's Hospital in San Antonio, Texas, acquired that painting for their collection in 2023, which is extraordinary. That painting, which again, I'll leave a little clip of it for you all who are listening in our notes, carries so much power with it. And so I'm so glad that it's made it to Texas. She definitely continues to surprise us and reach greater heights. She was listed in the 7 Caribbean Women Artists to Collect and received the award in 2023 of the Haitian Cultural Keeper from La Petite Club and the Dalancourt Group. If she's not painting, you will find her spending time with her family or in the garden taking care of her plants and her orchid collection, which she also does paint about a lot. And I have one of the beautiful orchids in my home, and I've given them as gifts because they are spectacular. Welcome, Annie.
Thank you so much, Leah. That was an amazing introduction.
I could go on many days for you. Well, thank you so much for being here. It has been a long time coming, and it is August, which is Breastfeeding Awareness Month for the World Breastfeeding Awareness Month. And we met over breastfeeding because you were getting some support from the WIC breastfeeding team, and you submitted this amazing piece of art for that Art of Breastfeeding event. And that's how we met. So I really wanted to come and have you share your story about your experience in the NICU with Thalia, and particularly your breastfeeding, or what it is to be pumping experience in the NICU.
Yeah, because there was never any breastfeeding. It was always pumping.
Always pumping. And I think that's something really important. We think, breastfeeding is one thing. Breastfeeding could be chest feeding. It could be pumping. It could be bottle feeding. We're pumping and bottle feeding, or we're directly breastfeeding from the breast or the chest. So what brought Thalia to the NICU in the beginning?
Yes, and I have to start from the beginning of the beginning.
Go for it.
I found out I was pregnant in 2021 and 2020 at the end of the year. And I found out in December. And it was a very, very short pregnancy because in April, so like 4 months, I went to the NICU. I had a little bleeding. I woke up one morning and I felt some kicks at the bottom. Usually they were on the side. So I called my cousin. She had just given birth in November. So her baby was 3 or 4 months. And I told her, there's no pain, there's nothing, but I saw this little bleeding and I'm calling you. She said, call your doctor, just like routine. So I called the doctor and he says, go to the hospital now. Okay. But I need to take a shower. So I go. Because I had no pain, nothing. It's early in the morning. Like if I go for a visit, I have to be clean. So I take a shower and the shower, there's the mucus plug that comes off. So I'm like, okay, something is wrong. So then I get my purse and I tell my husband, take me to the hospital now. And I tell him, oh yeah, just drop me off, go to work, because he's a realtor. He can come back after you're done with your tour. And after different tests, they start speaking Spanish, but I understand. And they say, oh, there's a problem. There's a problem. Like, what's going on? But they're not telling me anything. And they said that, no, they called your doctor. He's coming. and they tell me that I'm gonna have a C-section. That her feet are already out the cervix.
That's what you were feeling, those
Yeah,
kicks.
yeah. And they tell me it's gonna happen in less than 1 hour. So hurry up. And I get undressed. They put me on a table, and then they drive me to the operating room.
Did you make it all the way to the operating room?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because they did a C-section. And then everything is a blur. I just remember her. I remember a lot of people in the room, like 8 people. I remember, they have this cloth in front of you so you don't see anything.
Right.
I remember my husband leaving the room and coming back. He told me he went to cry because it was too much. He saw my organs on the table. And then, yeah, so I remember telling him, oh, go cut the umbilical cord because he didn't want to leave my bedside at all. And so the rest is a blur. And I remember waking up in the bedroom after that in the hospital room. So then they tell me I gave birth because I don't remember. And so I said,
Um,
okay, so where's the baby? Oh, she's in the NICU. Like, can I see the baby? Oh, you have to wait. You can't go yet. Like they had a change of nurse. They have a change of staff at a certain hour. And the hour that
right.
I had just woken up, I had to wait for the next change of staff to go there. And they told me I have to walk. Like, but you're just operating me. What are you telling me? Oh, yes, it's good for you. You're supposed to walk. So I'm like, okay. So they took a wheelchair. They wheeled me all the way to the front of the NICU, and then I had to walk to her bedside, to her little, I forgot the name of it.
Isolette.
Yeah,
How
I don't
far
know.
did you have to walk?
I don't remember, but for me, every step was like a mile.
Yeah.
It was a mile, and then you have to stand there because I didn't even realize like I was operated yet. It was just everything was a blur.
Yeah.
And when I saw her, I started crying because I didn't even realize how small she would be. And she was purple. Her feet were swollen because she had been kicking so much. Her feet was the size of a finger. Like this was the length of her foot.
Wow. Just the tip of your finger, basically, the last
Yeah.
part.
She was 1.5 pounds, and they told me she had 55% chances of survival. And when they told me she had to stay in the NICU, I didn't even understand what that meant because, well, I didn't know anything about the NICU.
Had you ever heard those words before, NICU?
I had, but the same way you hear all the other doctor words, it,
Right.
it doesn't mean anything.
Right. You didn't have context for what it
No,
could mean.
no.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And were you able to touch her at that point at all?
Not yet. It was
Not yet.
just outside the glass. Yeah.
And how many weeks was she when she was born?
She was 24 weeks.
A micro preemie.
Yeah. They told me the ones that survived were 26 weeks and more. And she had, yeah, a level 3 and 4 brain bleed. She had early puberty. She had her breast tissue that was developed for some reason. She had white dots in her cyst. Um, so like early puberty, like puberty things going on inside her body.
Yeah.
She had white dots on her kidneys. She had the open PDA. The PDA is the heart
Right. In
valve
her heart. Mm-hmm.
in her heart. It only closes at week like 32 or 30. So it's normal for it to be open at that stage. Um, so that's the first thing they told me. They need to operate that and close it because fluids from the lungs are going inside the heart and they're not supposed to. Um, so that was maybe the first few weeks. That's what they were focusing on, make sure fluids are not going in the lungs.
It's all like a waterfall of information, I imagine, going from,
Yeah.
I'm going to take a shower because I just have to hop over to the hospital, to having to understand all of these words and what they mean to you. Do you remember what you felt like your role was at that point? When they said, okay, I'm taking her to the NICU. How did you feel about what you could do at that point?
No, at that point, I think I was just cold and not feeling anything. It's like I blocked my emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take you back to after I saw her in the NICU.
Mm-hmm.
When the visit was done, it was maybe a 15-minute visit. I couldn't stand any longer. They brought me back to the room and they gave me a breast pump and they told me it's time to pump. And I was like, pump what? Like, what are you talking about? I mean, I knew about it, but I didn't know I was going to pump now. I just gave birth. What are you talking about? I'm still in pain.
Yeah.
And they explained to me how this yellow thing works. And they plugged me and they started, but I'm like, there's no there's no milk coming out. Oh, don't worry about it. Just keep pumping.
Keep
So I
pumping.
pump, and I got maybe one syringe, like, like this much.
Wow.
They told me it doesn't matter. So they started bringing different syringes, and every 3 to 4 hours they were coming and getting them and bringing it to the baby. And that's how the pumping started.
That's incredible, because that's like a golden hour that you have to get pumping right away.
Yeah.
And they did that.
They did that.
But you were like,
And
where's that going to come from, that milk?
yeah, like
Somebody
but
else.
nothing was coming out. So it was like one drop. They told me, yeah, it's gonna come, it's gonna come. It never really came.
How long so you created those syringes, which is the colostrum, which they want to come out. You know,
Mhm.
that's the first stuff that comes out usually. And how long was it before you created colostrum? Before like a drop would come out? Was it that day? The next day?
Maybe the next day.
Okay.
But they put me on they explained to me that I had to be on a consistent pumping schedule. It's not a one time today, one time tomorrow. It's in a strict every 4 hour pumping for half an hour. And sometimes massaging first, getting a warm shower, and then pumping to try to have as much milk as possible. But that was hard. That was really hard.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like many people talk about breastfeeding in this kind of glowy light, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, breastfeeding is so sweet and so lovely. And it's so, and I'm air quoting for those listening, natural.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be all those things, but it can also be this feeling kind of forced, sterile, uncomfortable because it's not warm. The pump
Well,
is not warm.
mine was closer to nightmare-ish.
Use the words. I want to hear them, Annick. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was a nightmare.
it
Yeah.
was a nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Say more.
yeah. So when they kept me an extra day at the hospital because I was overwhelmed. And remember, I gave you the dates when all of it happened because it was just at the end of COVID. So no visits were allowed.
Was your husband able to be with you?
He was there, but I sent him home because I told him, I'm at the best place possible. There's nothing you can do for me because your nurse is there. You're not a nurse. That was a mistake. That was a mistake.
Oh, no. Would they let him back in or no?
No, yeah,
Okay.
yes, he was able to come in, but remember, we also had a dog, and he has a son, so he couldn't sleep over even if he wanted to.
Yeah. He was divided.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm in the best care. I have meals provided. I have everything. Go home. You still have to walk the dog. You still have to take care of everything else.
And you were left there alone.
I wish he stayed.
Yeah, that's really lonely.
Yeah. It was hard. His first few days were really hard. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after the hospital visits, when I went home, that's when I broke down, realizing that I'm getting home without a baby. I realized that there's an empty crib. I had just gotten a crib. I had just gotten a bassinet, thank God.
Yeah.
And realizing that the baby's not coming home for a while. So that was really hard.
What did they tell you about when she, like her, I know they had given you that percentage, which is, I know they have to give you these numbers and give you all the information, but it's really hard to swallow percentages like that. Um, what did they tell you about expectations at that point? You said you're going home without her. Did they give you that, like, well, you'll be here for how long?
They told me until at least 40 weeks, until her she hits all the milestones. If she hits the milestones before, she can leave before. If not, she has to stay longer. And the milestones are breathing by herself, feeding by herself, well, herself,
Yeah.
like swallowing, doing all those things without any machines, without breathing with no oxygen, doing all these things by herself before being able to go home.
Hmm.
But they told me first thing was the closure of the PDA. So I said, okay, so when is this happening? And they told me this hospital cannot do it because we're a Baptist. Only Nicholas Children's Hospital can do it. So we have to transfer.
Okay. So all these relationships, maybe not very many, but you've established a little bit of a routine at one hospital and now you have to change.
Yeah, so we spent about maybe 2 or 3 weeks at
Okay.
Baptist, and it was great. Nurses were great. The only thing I did not like, but it's not because of them, it's because of our schedule. My husband is a realtor and he goes to work. He has appointments at 4 or 5 when the clients are done working.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the time he could, or 6, that's the time he could take me to the hospital. And that's the time that they have the shift, the change of shift. So you have to wait half an hour before being able, because the nurses have to talk to each other to give them well,
Like report.
know how we report.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So when I was actually able to see the baby, it was getting later and later. So that was really hard for me. Sometimes I was there at 7 and I had to wait until 8
Hmm.
to be able to see the baby for half an hour, 15 minutes if I could stand, and then go back home. So I was there for 3 hours.
But only with
But
Thalia for 30 minutes, maybe, which
exactly.
is not a productive time, especially for a breastfeeding
No,
mother who
no,
ideally would be pumping at her baby's bedside, would ideally be
exactly.
trying to facilitate that. So that was a
I've had
bad
to
plan. Oh.
wait all day to get that 15 minutes. So that's how the first 3 weeks were.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we transferred to NICU, it was much easier because you could actually stay in the NICU.
Yes. Tell me about that.
That it was much more comfortable because there are separate rooms, or there are rooms with a curtain that separates two families. Um, or you have the baby in one side and you have the little parent side.
Mm.
So that is it's very nice. It's very nice and comfortable.
Did you ever spend the night there with her?
At the end, maybe the last few nights when they told me I have to
Mm-hmm.
figure out the medication schedule, but I spent my days there. I spent my days.
Right.
I rather sleep in my bed. Yeah.
Well, you're recovering yourself too, you know? Yeah. You could have slept there, which I
Mhm.
think eased the stress of separation, right? If you know that it's there, if you needed it, you could have used it, right? If something was going on and you were like, I can't leave tonight,
Yeah,
you could
you could
stay.
stay, which was really, it
Yeah.
was comforting to know that I could stay.
Right. Right. Okay. And so your pumping journey began at Baptist, where you were, pumping with a machine, getting a little bit. Did it change much when you switched hospitals?
Oh, I was getting a little bit more. I was getting maybe 1 ounce or 2 ounces. It was
Mm-hmm.
fine. At first, she was only taking my milk. And then her feeding started to, well, let's call it expand, her feeding needs. So she started taking, yeah, 3, 4 ounces, and I'm still producing 1 ounce or 2 ounces. So then they told me they're gonna supplement with donor's milk. I was okay with it,
Okay.
but I said I need to produce more. I need to produce more. So I was there. I was doing kangaroo time, 2 hours sometimes, almost every day. Um,
Wow, that's amazing. That's incredible. Let's talk about that for a second. How big was she when you were able to start doing that? Do you remember how many weeks she might have been at that point?
I started holding her 1 month after she was born.
So around 28 weeks.
Oh, 24, yeah, about 28 weeks. She was probably 3 pounds by then.
And was she still on the ventilator?
Yes. At first, it was just I could only touch her with 2 fingers inside the isolette. And
Mm-hmm.
then as she grew stronger, and they removed some of the tubes, they told me I could start holding her. So I would put her on my chest and she would stay there and she would breathe better. And it was magical. It was a magical time.
I'm so glad that you brought that up because kangaroo care is so crucial for babies. I mean, you said she was breathing better, her oxygen levels were better. You found her restful on you?
Yeah, she was peaceful. Sometimes I fell asleep with her on me. But they have like long chairs, so you can be um
Secure.
yeah.
That's good.
And the nurse is right outside, so it's
She's
not too
watching.
far. She's watching.
Yeah. Oh, wow. And so for you too, it sounds like you said your words were, there was a magical time. So
Yeah.
what did you notice about yourself when you had her in kangaroo care in that position? Yeah. How did you feel?
I felt well. Sometimes I needed to go pee, but they tell you you can't you can't do kangaroo care for less than two
Right.
hours or 1 hour and a half. So they're not gonna move the baby for half an hour. So
Yes.
you better be prepared. That means you need to pump before, you need to eat, you need to be showered, you need to you need to go to the bathroom. You need to have all your things done before getting the baby sometimes. And if you miss the schedule, then you miss the schedule, then tomorrow. So everything was on a tight schedule.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that schedule. So the kangaroo care has that schedule, right? That's 90 minutes. The feeding also is tightly
Mhm.
regimented, right? Ounces and fortifiers and time spent
Yep.
feeding. How was that for you
Mhm.
as a parent fitting into that schedule?
That was very difficult because my pumping was not the
Hmm.
same time of the feeding, and I didn't have enough milk to have supply that was there laying down. I only had exactly for the day or half a day. So if I came at an hour that they already fed her, then it's the milk that I'm producing now when I would arrive at the hospital, that this is the next feeding
Right.
because
Right.
I didn't have
You were like on demand. Yeah.
literally, literally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes after holding her for kangaroo care, if my usual is 1 ounce or 2 ounces, I would maybe get 2.5. So I would get a little bit more after holding her.
Oh,
So that
great.
was always nice.
Ah, that's wonderful.
But one of the things that I did not like
Yeah.
is that because they were so strict with the feeding, and sometimes they would, because the change of nurses again, they would change their feeding schedule depending on which babies came first.
Hmm.
One time they changed my feeding schedule. So let's say the normal feeding would be at 9. I arrived at 8:30, and at 8:30 she was already fed. So they already gave her formula. And
Oh,
that day I broke down because I changed all my feeding schedule for the night.
yeah.
So let's say if I would pump at 8, then I pumped at 9. So 9 plus 4, so let's say 12.
Hmm.
And then 12, I woke up at 3, and then 3, 6. So I changed the whole night to be there. And then when I came, she was already fed with formula. So that was, I think that's one of the days I called you crying. I was like,
Yeah.
they just fed her.
That's rage. I can imagine
Yeah.
feeling angry and
Yeah.
disappointed and just disheartened.
Because it's a lot of effort. Your
Hmm.
s- your body's still recovering. You're waking up at specific hours. You're not getting enough sleep. You're terrified of all the things, the news they're giving you from the NICU. You're seeing your baby, but you can't hold her for a long time.
Hmm.
So all of it is a lot.
Yeah. And you're putting so much into this.
And you can't have any visits. My parents were in Haiti. My family members, my aunts, she wanted to come, but they said no.
Mm.
It has to be immediate family only. So it's just you're alone. You're alone.
Yeah. This was like this, the breastfeeding, I think, becomes a very much the pumping and the process, all of that. For a lot of parents, they share with us that it's like the thing that you really can do when you feel like there's not much you can do. This is something that you really can pour yourself and your energy, which tends to be a little, like you feel like there's a lot more that you wish you could do. And so to have that power sort of taken away from you is frustrating.
It was very frustrating. And I think that's where, so being an artist, that's where I saw the art of breastfeeding.
Hmm.
And first thing I did was email them to find out more and when were the deadlines because I said I need a lot of time. This is going to be a very slow piece.
Yeah.
So from April to, no, not April. I was already in the class. Maybe the end of May
Hmm.
to August. Sometimes I was painting just 10 minutes a day. So I brought my canvases, my brushes, since I was in the NICU for 8 hours. I said, might as well do something productive
Yeah, I would say.
in between pumping sessions because you get tired of the TV, you get tired of just walking around. They had support groups, but because of COVID, I only had one session and then everything closed down because you couldn't be with a group of people.
Right.
So it was hard.
And was art something that was, I mean, you're an artist, but
Hmm.
is it something that brought you peace at that time? Or was it something that added stress? I don't know. A lot of folks work when they're in the unit sometimes because they don't want to take time off but what was it like for you to do your job, your work, but also your
Yeah,
pleasure sometimes in the NICU?
it was relaxing.
Hmm.
It was not stressful at all. But sometimes the working position because of the C-section
Right.
was difficult. So I could only do it maybe half an hour for the day. So I had to be very strategic on which part I was gonna work on that day. So let's say today I'm doing one finger. That's
Wow.
it. 10 minutes I do the base. And then if I could do a little bit more, I would do it, but that's it. And it was very relaxing, and everybody was like, "Oh, you're painting? What are you doing here? Are you allowed to paint?" Like, yes, this is non-toxic paint. There's no problem.
Yeah.
It's not oil paint, it's acrylic paint.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And this piece of magic is it really is. I can't wait for everybody who's listening to look at it and really spend some time uh, watching it because it's not just a painting; it's mixed media,
Hmm.
which I know you've done some of, but this is a special mixed media. Tell us about it.
So I painted. It's a self-portrait of me with the breast pump, and in the back of the painting. So I'm pumping the milk. So it's a 2 a.m. pumping. That should,
Hmm.
my hand is like this
Yeah, on your
because I'm
forehead.
tired. I
Yep.
want to fall asleep. And in the back of the piece, I glued all the stickers of the NICU because I went every single day. I was there. So you know the stickers that they give you with your face and the date.
Hmm. Your ID, the little
That's
badge that
what
every time you go
the
in, they
I
give you the little visitor pass.
exactly the visitor pass. So that's all the stickers in the background. And sometimes they had some of them have dots because they had to do some COVID tests.
Mm.
So when they have dots, is the COVID test. And yeah, so I have all the story of when I was in the NICU pumping with the portrait in the front.
It is such a story. It is such a story that it, like, that's why I find myself looking at it, and I've shared it with our. I was lucky enough to be supporting you at that time, and shared it with our mentors as it was coming along, and it was such a profound piece of art because so many of our parents can really relate to it. That feeling of the constant day to day to day with the stickers, the stickers. They pile up these stickers, and the commitment, the anguish, the hope, the passion that you have on your face in this, with your hand on your forehead, and commitment is it's really, yeah. Like, this might not be great, but I'm going to do this.
And I pumped for 7 months.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she came home in August, mid-August.
Mm-hmm.
Her due date was August 25th. So end of August, she came home mid-August. So she hit her milestones 2 weeks before her due date.
Wow, that's
So that was
amazing.
amazing. Yeah. She was 5 pounds when she came home and she was breathing by herself. She still had medication.
Mm-hmm.
That was another hard part. She had 3 different medications. She had high blood pressure, so she had some medication for that. I don't even remember what the other two were at this point.
I think that's a good lesson for
But
all of us.
yeah, but what was hard is that the pumping schedule and the medication schedule was at different times. So let's say pumping was at 2, medication was at 2:30, and then I had to wake up to feed her again like at 3:30. So I would spend almost the full night, even if my husband was helping.
Mm-hmm.
He would take the first shift, I would do the next one, and he would do the other one. But that was still a lot because I was waking up for pumping.
Yeah. You spent your nights and days awake. I mean,
Okay.
having to get on those schedules between the two things.
So the first 2 to 3 months was like no sleep, no sleep at all.
That is hard.
Yeah. And then the doctor's appointment started. That was, I did not like that at all. Every week I had 2 to 3 to 4 doctor's appointments because they needed to see her on a regular basis.
Yes.
So we had pulmonology for the lungs. She was getting RSV shots every month for I think 4 months or 6 months. I don't remember. And then she had the heart.
A cardiologist.
Cardiology
Mm-hmm.
because they needed to verify the PDA. She had endocrinology because of the
Mm-hmm.
pre-puberty. She had nephrology because of the kidney. So all of them were like, "Oh, see you next week." I'm like, "Oh my God, just why do I need to come see you again?"
Yeah, it's NICU part 2.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did not like that part at all. When I came at the NICU, I was like, "Oh, I'm done." It wasn't done at all.
No.
And then we started with early steps and the
Uh-huh.
therapies. So we had early steps come 2 times. The ITDS would come twice a week.
Mm-hmm.
First it was online because of COVID, and then a couple months after she came to her home, she was really really helpful because she taught me a lot of different techniques on how to care for her and what to stimulate. Like she was telling me, oh, do tummy time because she needs to hold her head. I would not know these things, even if
Mm,
you read, but you don't know when to do what.
right, right. So it was helpful.
It was really helpful. And then therapies were 3 times a week at first. She had
Hmm.
physical therapy and occupational therapy. And then yeah, she's still in therapy now for physical, but she graduated from occupational therapy.
So how old is Talia now?
Talia is 3 years old.
Mm, and what is she up to?
Talia is amazing. She's fully bilingual. She speaks French and English. She makes full sentences.
Wow.
She runs, she jumps, she walks. She took a lot of time to walk. She was almost 20 months when she started walking, but she was already talking and making full sentences.
Wow. And what about her feeding progress? Did she ever, after you said pumping, did she ever do like on the breastfeeding? Did she move to solids? How was that experience for you guys?
Well, when she always had reflux, it was like a jet vomit. We would have that 3 to 4 times a day.
Oh,
That was, and that stayed for at when I stopped pumping, she was still doing that at 7 months. So that was almost for the first year
yeah. Wow.
until she really started eating solid. She was still having reflux. And she had, yeah, that's what the medication was for.
Oh, there
The
you go.
second medication. Yeah. Yeah, that was, so we were doing laundry nonstop. That was difficult.
Yeah.
Pajamas and
Lots and lots and lots of clothes.
yeah,
And your
lots of
clothes too.
my clothes too. Yeah.
Talia really is amazing. And she's really just come so far. I'm really just so impressed by her.
Yeah. They gave us a 55% chance, and she doesn't have any of the things that were on the list. She sees fully, she walks, she runs, she speaks 2 languages. She's bilingual, French and English. I'm surprised every day by her progress.
It's really incredible. And you mentioned that 55%. And as we sort of talked about it a little bit earlier, too, that those numbers feel really stark. How, when they were giving you this type of number, how were you able to keep up hope when you were in the NICU?
Where with a lot of family help, I guess. I have my aunt that's a neonatologist. Her name is Alexandra Lespinas, and I was able to call her anytime, 2 a.m. in the morning, early, didn't matter. She would pick up if I had any questions, and she would help me translate and understand the NICU words and everything that was going on. And this is where the book that you create is so important. My NICU book, and this is why I wanted to be part of this project, because it helps parents understand the language of the NICU, what is happening with their baby, the milestone that they need to have to leave the NICU. So I'm very, very happy to be part of this project, and congratulations because it's amazing.
Thank you, Annick. And we could not have done it without you and the other families and medical teams who contributed to it. For those of you who are listening, Annick is, I mentioned in the beginning, she's one of our actresses in the videos, but she was also a contributor to the content and absolutely to the transcreation into Creole. And you mentioned something there about understanding the words. So folks who speak English and you're in an English hospital still don't understand the words because they're not, most of them English, they're Latin. Never mind if you're coming from a place that doesn't speak English. It's so important that you can understand what's being said to you. So I'm really glad that you had that resource in your aunt. And we're really grateful because now your work with us at ICU Baby and creating the My NICU Baby book and all of those videos has made, hopefully, it's like your pocket aunt is what we really want, your pocket friend to help you figure out those questions that you should be asking, or make sense of words that just really don't sound like they came out of any kind of dictionary anywhere. So I'm really glad that you had that support. It means everything. And we're really glad that we have you. So you've shared so many amazing things with us here today. I wanted to see if if there's somebody out there listening right now has their baby in the NICU, either nearby, far away, for one day or 6 months. Is there anything that you would want to share with them?
Yes. First of all, to be patient, because it will end. There will be a day that you will go home with your baby in your arms. And then also to take advantages of all the help and support that is available to you. There's a 24-hour breastfeeding line. There is ICU Baby. There's so many websites and there's WIC, so many different associations and that can help you, that can support you. So to be patient, I think that's the hardest thing.
For sure.
Being patient.
Yeah.
I was counting days every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you just have to make it through the day, and then the night, and then the next day. Sometimes it's just make it to noon. It's very difficult. It's challenging. And it's challenging to take care of the home. If you have other children, it's challenging. If you have pets, if you have anything else going on, it's challenging.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ask for help as well. If you can delegate, if you can get a food service, if you can get a laundry service just for that time, it really, really helps.
Yeah. Somebody told me once, this is the time to receive. And as mothers, we're givers, right? We're givers, and parents too. Fathers are more and more in that role too. So we're used to having to do it all ourselves and make it all happen. So I love this message to receive. Let us help you. We're here to help.
And you can ask specifically what you need. And if you don't know what you need, right? You do know you have your basic needs: food, laundry. So you can ask for that. You can ask for a gift card for a restaurant.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So you don't have to worry about cooking for the next few days.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we have to stay well fed. Those Snickers commercials are not a joke. When we're hungry, we're not at our best. Yeah, it's true. Very true. Amazing. Thank you so much, Annick. Such a joy to have you. Any minutes that I get you, it's always a happy day. And I hope that everybody who's listening out there can feel your radiance and your wisdom coming through.
Thank you so much, Leah.
And for everybody out there, if you are sitting by your baby's bedside, maybe you're doing kangaroo care for the first time, or you're walking the floors at night, worrying or watching your baby on the camera, definitely probably pumping some milk or breastfeeding, driving back and forth to the hospital. We know there's so many ways that we show up for our babies in the NICU. Annick and I want you to know that you are not alone, and we are here for you. Thank you so much for listening, and we can't wait to sit with you again next time. Take care.
Thank you so much. Take care.
A NICU parent pearl. Something we know for sure. Every baby and every NICU journey is different. The story you heard today is this family's story. We hope what you learned here will empower you to ask questions and engage with your baby's healthcare team throughout your NICU journey and beyond. As a reminder, this podcast is intended to be purely for entertainment and informational purposes and should not be construed as medical advice. If you have any medical concerns for yourself or your baby, please talk to a medical professional. You all deserve to feel well. Thank you for listening to Beyond the Beeps. If you liked this episode, please leave us a review on Apple Podcast or the Apple Podcast website. You can find other episodes of this show and other incubator shows wherever you prefer to listen to podcasts. We would love to hear from you, so feel free to send us questions, comments, or suggestions to our email address, director@icubaby.org. You can also message the show on Instagram, Twitter, or through our website at icubaby.org. Thank you.